so Seeking Safety is actually through treatment innovations, and Seeking Safety, as you know, is a lot. There is a lot to Seeking Safety. So we're going to break it down. We'll probably have to take a break midway through Seeking Safety because there's a lot here. Surprisingly enough, I found through researching the top 3 manualized evidence-based programs we're using, I found that Seeking Safety is actually second to Period of Purple Crying because it's spelled out pretty clearly for you. You can go into the Google Drive, you can open up that session packet, and that's what you're doing with the family. But looking through the research articles that are out there on Seeking Safety, there are certain guidelines, and there's definitely certain sub goals. So we're going to move into that today. I'm going to talk through the key guidelines first and look at what the California Clearinghouse says are 3 of the main targets. Okay, so let's look at key guidelines. So to help guide us in the key guidelines is the Seeking Safety website link from the California Clearinghouse. And the California Clearinghouse says there's really 3 main areas that we're working with the family on through Seeking Safety. I didn't really know this until digging into the material deeper here this last month. So I'm assuming most of you probably didn't know this either. But it can be really helpful in how to create especially sub-goals with the family. So increasing safe coping in relationships. It's all about safety. Seeking Safety, that's what it's called. Increase safe coping and thinking. You might call it cognitions. And then increasing safe coping in behavior. So those are the 3 main areas that California Clearinghouse helps us understand that we're really working with the family. I'm going to move into the guidelines. I need to catch up with myself and my papers. So there's a whole lot of guidelines, but I thought, well, let's hit the highlights here on what the guidelines are for Seeking Safety. First and foremost, there are those 3 domains: the cognitive, the behavioral, interpersonal, but I kind of renamed it to relationship or relational. People probably kind of know what relational means more than interpersonal. I don't think a lot of our families are using the word interpersonal. They're probably not using the word cognitive or behavioral either, to be honest. Our second guideline here is safety is the priority. Okay. Our third one is that, and we've had this question from some therapists in the past, the presence of substance use or PTSD is not needed. You probably need to have one or the other at least, but you don't have to have substance use and trauma presence both. They can have just trauma symptoms and Seeking Safety will be beneficial for them, or they can have just substance use and not have the trauma symptoms. The key here in the research that I've found is that many clients will downplay one over the other out of shame or fear. So they'll highlight that they have substance use, but they'll downplay the trauma that's associated with it. Or vice versa, they'll highlight the trauma, but they want to kind of hide the substance use out of shame and fear. And I would guess that's probably even heightened more in the work that we're doing since they have DCS in their home. So be thoughtful through that even though the family may not be presenting one or the other, it may be there. We just don't know it. Okay. A full diagnosis of substance use or PTSD is not needed for this treatment underneath number 3 as well. Diving further into the material, there is a minimum dose recommendation. So if you wanted to use Seeking Safety to fidelity and say that you're actually using it, the minimum dose is 6 sessions of Seeking Safety. Okay. Any less, we cannot say that we used Seeking Safety. We cannot give them a certificate of completion, basically. But if they complete at least 6, and that's including the introduction session, then we can use that. If time is limited, there are 5 modules that they recommend in addition to the intro, and that is these. You can write them down if you want. Safety, the module on safety, PTSD taking back your power. Do I need to slow down? Okay. When substances control you. Detaching from emotional pain, or the grounding one, and we know that one usually takes more than one session. And then strangely enough, they add this last one, asking for help. And that one they have found is difficult for people to do. And then, as you know, a guideline for this material is modules don't have to be just a 1-week session. You can take further than 1 week on these modules. All right. Our fifth one is that this model, treatment model, seeking safety, can easily be combined with other models. And so even in our Google Drive, you will see there is a Claire Matrix folder, and there's some Claire Matrix, which is a model used for substance use in clinics and in group format. It can easily be combined with the Claire Matrix material. And Claire Matrix, one of their head of training has given us permission, us specifically permission, to supplement seeking safety with their material. We cannot say we're using Claire Matrix officially, but we can supplement seeking safety with the Claire Matrix model. And we can let DCS know, hey, these are some of the things from Claire Matrix that we're using with the family. Okay. Our sixth guideline is prep is needed. And so it's really recommended to prepare your modules before you go in, to read through the material, to familiarize yourself with that session before you go into the home. I still do that before I go into a home. It's like, let me read through this with the family. Okay. Number 7 is unmet goals. There is actually a document in our preservation provider folder under treatment models seeking safety. There's a document in there called ideas for unmet goals. So if they are not achieving some of the goals in the session, if you're really having trouble, specifically if you're having trouble, what they really mean is, are you having trouble with them carrying through with their commitment? Commitment is the homework, right? If you're having trouble with them carrying out the commitments, read unmet goals. That document will help you. Okay. And then the last one that's highly recommended in the Seeking Safety Manual is for us to attend a local AA meeting in advance, not with the client, just to go to a local one. If you've never gone, you can go as a guest, and it's anonymous, and they're okay with that. They have that all the time. But to go and experience one. How can we recommend that a family go to an AA if we haven't ever gone to one, to know what it is we're recommending? And so that's the other piece of this as a guideline that they give. All right. So one of the ways I might talk to a family might be, hey, your goals with seeking safety, you're going to focus on improving your personal safety in your relationships with others, in your thoughts, and even all the way down into your actions, the things that you're doing. And it will help overall the way you feel. It's going to help you manage those symptoms of that are associated with and connected with the trauma that you've gone through in your life as well. So I might say it in some way like that. And depending on who the client is, I might kind of word that a little different. Okay. Let's move into our main goals. Okay. So I say main goals plural, but really this is 5 different ways that you could word the main goal when you create this goal. And this is going to be type
Brent,
clinical.
you have just 1 to 2 minutes left.
Thank you. So we'll pause here. But this is 5 different ways that you can word that, and just like the period of purple crying, you can combine those as well. Let's take 6 minutes, come back at 11:05, and we can kind of refresh ourselves and then get some coffee, hit the bathroom, whatever we need to do, and then we'll pick up here on this slide. Sound good? All right. We'll see you in a little bit. So we left off with the main goal, and similar to period of purple crying, I thought it might be helpful to throw out a few different options for you in the wording of that main goal for seeking safety. All right, so you can kind of do general. Number one would be kind of a general goal, move beyond trauma and substance abuse. You could have it a sub goal related, attain safety in relationships, thoughts, actions, and feelings. Trauma focused, and that might be helpful if you're really picking up on a lot of trauma symptoms, increase the resilience regarding trauma related symptoms. Substance, if you feel like it's more substance focused, increase the use of safe coping skills with reduction of substance abuse symptoms. Or recovery focus. I kind of like this one. Promote recovery from PTSD and substance use, growing resilience. With each one of these, similar to period of purple crying, I would probably recommend tagging on to the beginning of the goals wording or the end, um, such as complete the seeking safety program, and then have by promoting recovery from, if I'm using number 5, by promoting recovery from PTSD and substance use, growing your resilience, or you could put it at the end. So promote recovery from PTSD and substance use, growing resilience through completing X being certain number of sessions of the Seeking Safety program. So you can add on with some of those prepositional phrases. Any questions so far on some of these main goal options? Okay, let's move into the sub goals. There are 5 key sub goals that are pretty much always going to be there with Seeking Safety. Okay, so our sub goals are these, and you can word these a little differently depending on who the client is. Number 1, it's going to become familiar with and create a plan for seeking safety. That's our intro, right? That's us beginning work with the client. And then these 3 middle ones really are going to be depending on how the client leads you. So you are having the client at the beginning select what they would like to focus on. That's why this one is less manualized than the period of purple crying, because the client is leading through selecting what modules that they want to work on. But those modules fit under these 3 middle sub goals: increase safe coping skills in relationships, increase safe coping skills in actions. I worded it actions. I figured the client might know what that is more than behaviors. I've heard enough clients say, that sounds clinical. I don't know what that means. When you say behavioral or behaviors. And then increase safe coping in thinking, instead of saying cognitions. Or you could say safe coping skills in thoughts. And then our 5th one is the reflect on the past. So in other words, it has a big part, these 2 have a big part on looking at how they've changed over the past through the Seeking Safety program, and move forward with a plan for the future. So that's your action plan. But Seeking Safety builds in a lot of action plan work into these final 2 modules: the life choices, game, and termination. So you can see in these middle 3, that is the bulk of what we're doing with clients. And this is how Seeking Safety categorizes those sessions. Now, there's going to be pieces in those sessions that are hitting the others, but primarily their focus is going to be under that sub goal. So you can see, for instance, safe coping skills in relationships. We've got asking for help, honesty, community resources, setting boundaries in relationships, getting others to support your recovery, and then healthy relationships. So that is the focus. So as you create that treatment plan, you'll want to create that treatment plan after probably even session 1. So you do session 1 and the introduction to treatment, which has that list of modules, and they're deciding what modules they want to do first. You can have them do the first 5 or the first 10. And then you say, hey, I'm going to type this out for us into a plan. And you come back with the treatment plan, and it has these listed sub goals and some of those modules underneath it. And you've already completed, look, we've already check marked off introduction to treatment, that module. We've got it done already, which is great to be able to come in with a treatment plan and have some things already done on it. Family's going to love it. All right. Any questions about this setup here that you're seeing? Okay. So we're going to move into key actions. Now this is going to be pretty lengthy.
All right, we need like 10 more seconds to respond.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
trying
go
to
ahead, Sean.
unclick the mute button, and I'm old. Um, is this something available that we can refer to, like on the Google
Yes.
Drive?
Yes. So I'm going to share these documents with each of these evidence-based programs. I'll share it with you. It's all laid out in the same format I'm going through today. Okay? Yes, it's going to be awesome. You are going to love it because you can copy and paste a lot of this into a treatment plan. Okay? And you have permission because these are manualized. It's just how they are. All right, let's move into our key actions. These key actions are going to be broken down by module. Okay, so you would list in your treatment plan, complete module, asking for help, and then you could have the actions for that listed out underneath. Okay, subgoal number 1 was what? Our introduction to the plan, right? And so you could even use these check boxes that I have in here. I've provided those in the documents that you'll have as well. You can copy and paste check boxes in, and then you can actually copy a checkbox that has an actual check in it if you wanted right into the treatment plan. I wish we could actually like just click the box, but our system doesn't allow that. But these are some of the key things that you could be doing with the family under introduction to treatment. Anything that's in italics is optional, right? You may not be doing all of these things with the family through seeking safety, but we want to list these things out so that the family knows, hey, we're making progress. So a lot of these you're probably going to do really soon, early in treatment, and then that you come back with a treatment plan within 30 days, and the family's like, dude, I've done a lot. Now you see some things, therapist, on here that you don't know what they are. Okay, you could see the PCL5 and the CAPS5. This is kind of a surprise for you, but one of you, not who's not actually here with us today, I'm having one of the therapists test out these two items. These are items that are used by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs for PTSD. They are considered the gold standard for tracking PTSD symptoms and trauma symptoms. Currently, we are not tracking a client's PTSD trauma symptoms specifically. And so I've been researching what can we use to really best do that. We'll likely end up using these two items, especially the PCL5. They are used to assess trauma symptoms and the presence of those symptoms within the past week or the past month. The CAPS-5 is a clinical interview though, and so we will use that specifically if we really need to narrow down with certain clients, do they have a PTSD official diagnosis? You've heard the joke, everybody's gone through trauma, but not all of that trauma actually meets the qualifications for a PTSD diagnosis. For instance, divorce is a stressful event, but it is not a qualification for PTSD. And so we need to really be upping our game when it comes to that. And so that's one of the things that I put in here just as a precursor, depending on how the therapist that is testing it out, depending on their report when they come back to me. The other one is the Seeking Safety Clinician and Client Assessment of Needs. That one is already directly in the Seeking Safety folder in Google Drive. The best part about this assessment of needs is the client, the last page. It's just a checklist that the client goes through. And the reason I say it's the best part is because it asks things that we're not necessarily zeroing in on during our comprehensive assessment, which is more of this overarching large assessment. What we're doing with families is we're starting to zero in our assessments onto what their actual focus needs to be, according to them, according to DCS, according to what our observations are. This client assessment of their own needs ask one really important question, especially important for substance use. Would they like further HIV resources? I haven't been asking that. But I did find that there is an HIV supplemental material for Seeking Safety, and I've uploaded that in the Seeking Safety folder. And that is basically, it's a one-page double-sided sheet that you can add to your Seeking Safety module. There's one for each module. There's a Christian version as well of that. If the family really wants to go through a Christian version of Seeking Safety, there is a supplement for that in there. But the HIV one is newer. It's new for us. And so you can add that in if you come into a home and you find that there is the possibility of the existence of HIV in one of our families. Okay. So we are focusing these two under our sub-goal action number 1, right? So safety is the second module. You can see these are specific actions that module is focusing on. And you're going to see that as we go throughout. So these are those actions that you can just copy and paste right in to your treatment plan. Sub-goal number 2, anybody remember what it was? Relationships. All right. And again, we're hitting these modules by the way the family decides that they want to go through them. So we're not going relationships first, like Purity Purple Crying is more like we're going to do this, then we're going to do this, then we're going to do this. This one, we're hitting things as the family has told us they would like to focus in on those. So underneath relationships, we're going to look at those modules asking for help. You can see some of those action steps under that module that we're wanting to see the family work on. Honesty, okay, there's a role play in there. Community resources, pretty straightforward. Setting boundaries in relationship, difficulty saying no or yes too much in relationships. It could be one or the other. It's not just saying yes all the time and an inability to say no. We hear that a lot, but sometimes people say no too much and they have trouble with that boundary. Getting others to support your recovery. I've added in here, this is an option within this module to provide a letter to others to promote their understanding of PTSD and substance use disorder. It is an option in this one to invite a safe family member to attend this specific session. So those are some things to be aware of if this is one of them that they list that they would like to work on. And then healthy relationships. So we're looking at what's an unhealthy relationship? What is a healthy relationship? What's some of the beliefs that contribute to that? Right? Our third sub-goal, their behaviors or their actions. This one, how many of you have done this one with clients? Oh, I expected to see a lot of raise of hands. I mean, even Kurt has pulled this one out and done it with clients, and he wasn't even officially using Seeking Safety. This can be a really helpful one, but it can be long too. So there's 3 key areas there that we're working on with this module. Taking good care of yourself. See some of those items. And then red and green flags. We use this one quite a bit with clients too, I've noticed. Explore the up and down nature of recovery. Interesting. Commitment. Number 13. And that's more than just our homework is what we're talking about through there, although it definitely directly applies to homework. Coping with triggers. And we're going to have them work through the practicing a 3-step model, changing who you are with what you are doing and where you are. And that's used not only in Seeking Safety. The research I was looking at has it in other programs as well, usually different wording. Respecting your time. Self-nurturing. See some of those. And then this next one, I know many of you have used this one as well with clients. Healing from anger. Discover anger as a valid feeling connected with recovery. That doesn't make sense to a lot of clients early on. Okay, and then sub-goal number 4. Our thinking. our thoughts. PTSD, taking back your power. And I put two things down here. These are two different exercises within this model. And again, the client doesn't have to do both of these, but if they do one or the other, you could check mark in the treatment plan that's the one that they did. Okay. This next one, a lot of exercises. Here we go. When substances control you, there's 8 self-chosen exercises in that module to be able to go through. You don't have to go through all of them with the client. If there's 1 or 2 that, or 3 or 4 that the client would like to work on, we can definitely do that. Okay. And 8 is compassion. And I reworded some of these, if you can't tell. I've reworded some of these actions. I've tried to word them as best as I could to clients' language. Begin moving from beating up oneself to loving oneself. Okay. Recovery thinking, just in general, that's actually the title is thinking. Contrasting common thoughts from PTSD and substance use disorder with recovery thinking. And then there's 3 different tools that can be used for that. Integrating the split self. So this is a tricky one. Some clients initially think that this is talking about a split personality or something along those lines. Isn't necessarily talking about that. It's talking about how there's quite a big contrast that someone can jump from one thing to completely a different thing in their thinking. Okay, and how do we integrate those things together? Creating meaning. All right. Learn about deprivation reasoning. That's a big word. I kept it in here because it can be a conversation with the client. Action speaking louder than words. And then the warping of time. That's an interesting concept in that module as well. Okay. So that leads us through that. Believe it or not, oh no, we didn't. We have a few more. Discovery. This is the last one for thinking. Implement strategies such as ask others, try it and see, predict and act as if. So there's some different things in there that are available to our clients. And then that leads us to our last sub-goal, review the plan of the future. Okay. And there's 2 for that. This one, clients, I haven't seen any clients complete this one, but it can be really helpful because they're actually in this one reviewing the material that they covered, and it helps drive home the changes that they've gone through. And then the second one, it comes up with specific scenarios that they may face in the future and how they might be able to cope with that. That can be really helpful for clients as we're wrapping up with them, especially as they see, like, there's been some big changes in my life. And then termination, I added these in italics. These are some things that can be done. The SASE, of course, to check on your outcomes and to guide that reflection. The PCL5, which tracks the trauma symptoms. And then this one is actually in the material, which is interesting. Them being able to hear an actual termination letter that you wrote for them that validates the work that they accomplished. That's interesting. Expressing thoughts and feelings about the ending of the program, discussing what they liked, what they didn't like, and then, of course, developing an aftercare plan and getting their certificate of completion as well. So that wraps us up with Seeking Safety. Is there any questions? And as Sean said, we need more time to think. So I'll pause and ask and wait.